All right, baby. Let me tell you something here. It is, look outside, Harnish.
Uh-huh.
Is it a full moon? Because
Might
the
be.
Leafs
It might be.
won in regulation. The Leafs have won in regulation. It's something to behold. They've only done that 50% of the time in their wins. Welcome to Game Over Toronto. We have much to discuss here. Myself, Fouad Suleiman, and on the other end of the screen, my man, Harnish Patel. How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing a lot better after that third period because the game started off great. The second period, oh my god, the 4-1 curse, the visions I had of how the team can flub this. Uh, but then they came back in the third. They put the gas the foot to the pedal, and they completely finished off the game perfectly how they should have, honestly, in the second period. But listen, a win's a win at the end of the day, and they ended off perfectly for the Father's Day trip as well. A lot of happy campers on the way back to Toronto tonight. That's for
Yeah,
sure.
man. I gotta say, the father's trip, they gotta do that like a lot more. Can they look? The Leafs, we'll get into the game, but the Leafs paid Ryan Reeves $1.75 million to do not very much. Can they just hire Brian Matthews to make him do anything? That guy is such a vibe. Him and Ty Domi just became like best friends. Like, did we just become best friends? And apparently, like I think Lauren was saying that Austin is destroys it every time he plays in front of Pops. So I don't know, like assistant to the assistant coach. What do you think?
Yeah, just throw him anywhere near anywhere at all. And Ty, oh my god, I love having Ty out there. He looks like he's just getting the rest of the fathers going as well. Every time they panned up to him and Austin's dad, it was just pure entertainment. I
Pumping.
absolutely loved it. There was like one time I think where there was like a couple chances that the Leafs had, and like his dad is just going up and down like, is it in now? Is it not? Is it in?
Yeah.
It's not. Is it in? And you could see they were totally invested. They had a fun game, and thankfully the team actually gave them something to cheer for today, right?
Yes, for about 48 minutes of the game, they did. But let's get right into it. Start off about like what 15 minutes into the game. Not many shots going on here, and then obviously we get the floodgates really open up. Like I mean, really open up.
Didn't we
All it took
score in
was
the
one
first 3 minutes? I thought we
Was
scored
it
in
three?
the first 4 minutes. Yeah, it was a
Yeah, it's
Matthews
about first
goal.
4 minutes. Yeah, like and then I'm saying Austin Matthews. Well, I'm saying first 4 minutes. What I mean, 15 minutes
Yeah.
on the clock. Never mind. Try that again. Austin Matthews breaks the floodgates open, and he's gonna be a subject in this show because my goodness, he has went full Poppy tonight. What an unreal goal! Like, I mean, well, first of all, an unreal play by William Nylander, just completely destroying every New York Ranger en
Oh yeah.
route to that pass. What did you think of that?
Yeah, Willie completely that play started from him. Like, he danced around four of those Rangers players, made them look like absolute children. It was crazy cuz I mean, we talk about the Leafs, like, they're on the second half of a back-to-back, right? The Rangers, they haven't played since I believe Sunday. So they've had some time off. And
Yeah.
judging from that first period, judging from the way that the game started, you would not have guessed that. You would have thought the Rangers were the ones who were on the second half of a back to back. The Leafs were outskating them like to hell and back in that first period.
Oh,
And Nylander especially, oh my god, the way he danced through all four of those Rangers and found Matthews all alone, that was criminal. That was AHL versus NHL players. Like, insane. And one thing I do want to mention, real quick, um, you got to shout out the Leafs fourth line, or the coach and staff, whoever told them to get off the ice at that moment. So essentially what happens leading up to this goal was the Leafs were going to get on a power play, right? So we had one guy, we had an extra man out there, and the fourth line, instead of going onto a rush to get something going, they stay back a little bit, wait till our top line come out there, and then let our top line play with that extra man advantage, right? And
yeah.
that's what ends up leading to the goal, right? So shout out to the fourth line for understanding that. Shout out to the bench for calling that out, and shout out to Willie for dangling and just humiliating the Rangers on that play.
You mean the bench did something. The bench did something good in late changing lines. Like I mean, this is a bizarro game here. But yeah, great. And the Rangers in that first period did not look great. And this is the best team in the Metro, I believe. Like one of the best teams
Oh, they're
like
one
in
of the
the
best teams
league
in the whole league. Like if you
consistently every year.
yeah, and if you ignore like right now if you look at the actual points percentage, they're actually higher up than Vegas, right? They have like 3 games in hand. Well, I guess before
Yeah.
this game. They had 3 games in hand and they were tied with the Bruins for having like I was like a 75% point percentage or something like that. So yeah, they are one of if not the best teams in the league. And yeah, this is what they showed.
Yeah, and the second goal, we see just an absolute bomb from the point from Connor Timmins.
Oh,
First goal of the season. Now, was it a bomb from the point, or was Ilya Shesterkin just Igor Shesterkin rather off his game? Because he had a pretty rough first period. I remember like after like the third goal, which we'll get to, they're like, he's gonna get the hook. And he
mhm.
never did. I don't know where they got that info from. But yeah, big shot from Connor Timmins, first of the season. Uh, must be maybe the third as a Leaf. I don't know, but not many as a Leaf.
Yeah, beautiful shot from the point.
Yeah.
And it was like straight off the blue line. But yeah, it started off by Domi tying it up on the draw, and then Yarncroc gets drops the puck back to Timmins, and he does not hesitate. That is exactly what I want to see out of our defensemen. Or I want to see them just take a quick slap shot, just get a quick snipe out off the bat and just like hope that something happens or something of it, right? And this play, like realistically, I think it caught Shesterkin off guard, and also the fact that it was like a very he had poor vision, I guess. Like there was a lot of bodies up front. It was hard for him to see. I don't think he was even expecting that, right? But Connor Timmins, he throws it out there, and yeah, he gets his first goal, and it was like a minute after the Matthews goal, right? Usually, you see the Leafs when you go one up, it's usually the other team that's scoring first, right, or
Right
scoring
back.
next. But not this time, not this time.
Well, they waited till they had two to give it back. To
Yeah,
be
yeah.
fair, they waited had to have two to give it right back there. And it started off with I think Riley and Brody kind of went after the same guy. They kind of got their lines crossed a little bit there.
Mhm.
And yeah, back in the net there, and that's where I thought that's where I started to think, oh, here we go. Like because look, every hockey game has its ebbs and flows, but the way we watch this team is different than maybe other teams watch their teams,
Mhm.
where it's like there's a certain script that's followed here. So once that goal goes in right away, you're like, oh, okay, big crowd's going. Let's see what happens. Now that whole thing wouldn't come to fruition until later, but there you go. Bit of a defensive breakdown there. Martin Jones, who was great in this game for what he is
Mhm.
as a third string goaltender, was not able to come up with that one there.
Yeah, I don't really blame him. We'll talk a little bit about Martin Jones after as well because I think there's a lot of good points that we can talk about him for. I think he had a pretty good game, all things considered. But on this play, I really blame Brody. It looked like he was puck watching and he was trying to skate to get to Wheeler, but then just watches the puck instead and lets Wheeler go wide open. And obviously the puck takes a deflection, gets straight to Wheeler who snipes it, right? But Brody should definitely be on Wheeler. He should be more aggressive. And he was just caught out of position there. There was nothing really that you can blame Martin Jones for. That was purely a defensive breakdown from Brody, and you hate to see it. But there's been a couple of those times where Brody's made a little lapse in judgment, right?
Yeah. Yeah. A few times, like I feel like at least one goal a game, it's like it kind of starts out where two guys are going after one guy, and I'm like, you're just collapsing on the wrong guy, but somebody is always going to be wide open, and it always ends up in that spot. Brody's pretty solid, so I guess we don't because we don't notice him very much because he's such a stay-at-home defenseman.
Mm-hmm.
When we notice him, we notice him. So
Yeah.
it's kind of a thankless job in that sense. So the next one we get good old Captain Consistency. 1001 loves New York. John Tavares shoots, snipes it. Cal Yarncroke taps it in, and we get to 3-1 there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And John Tavares, look, he didn't get 1,000 points at the tail end of his career. He's still going. He is still as consistent as ever. He loves New York. I love New York. New York is great, but fun to play there, it seems, because he continued his effectiveness.
Yeah, yeah. And there's a lot of good things that that line did leading up to that play as well, right? I love how like gritty and how snotty that line is. Just throwing anything at Sturkin and seeing if they can get anything going. Like Bertuzzi starts it off, he just throws the puck onto the pads, right? It gets a deflection. Tavares throws it off as well. Then Yarny gets the that deflection, throws it off to Tavares. Tavares hits it again, off the pads again, and the deflection lands in front of Yarncroc, who puts in the back.
Yeah.
You got to just throw stuff out there sometimes and see what goes, especially when Shesterkin had looked or has been looking pretty leaky, I guess, to the start of this period. Throw something out there. You never know what's gonna take a weird deflection. You never know if you're just gonna catch him outright. And that's the kind of stuff that I really like to see. And like this line has kind of made a name for themselves off of that, just being really hard on the check and just really just really, I guess, like snotty and hard
Yeah.
to play against. It's just really good to see. I
Very
love seeing
strange
that line.
rebound control we saw from Igor Shesterkin. Like it was like ping pong in front of the net.
I
Where it
don't even
just
blame him though, because like what are the Rangers defense doing at that point? None
yeah
of them have any physicality to push these guys out of the way. They essentially let him just get shelled in that moment. Like there was no help that the Shesterkin had. Yes, he had a bad game, but that like I don't know, the defense, it felt like the defense just kind of let him go and just was like, all right, you're a world class goalie, like do your stuff. There was no help.
yeah there yeah. I mean it was a pretty bad period from New York. Like I felt like I was like, whoa, I've like the Leafs played last night, had a pretty gutting loss, I'd
Hmm.
say, with circumstances, and I was like wildly impressed. Shot out of a cannon, like just me driving cross town. The next game, shot out of a cannon in the first period, and I was pretty encouraged. So before we get to the second, like there was one more goal. We had Austin Matthews streaking up.
Hmm.
Everybody worrying about the shot. At Austin Matthews' shot, it's like Steph Curry in the NBA now. It's like creates gravity.
Oh yeah,
Everyone's worried about the shot.
yeah.
He's able to pass it off and take advantage of their fear of him. Marner pots an easy one there, and he's been looking great too. Like I mean, I think he's been kind of the subject of some ire the past few weeks. Looks like he's back in form. What do you think?
Yeah, definitely. You talk about the amount of eyeballs that Matthews like commands. Holy crap, they completely forgot about Marner, eh?
Yeah,
Marner just streaks down to the side of the net. Nobody is covering him at all. They're all afraid of Matthews trying to get sticks in the lane. It was an easy tap in. And yeah, for a guy that's had a lot of criticism in Marner, fantastic. And you can see the passion in him. I love to see the emotion that these guys show when they finally net something and they get something going, right?
yeah,
And just the connection between Matthews and Marner, fantastic all game. And
yeah.
again, they didn't have an easy time. Like you got to remember, Nyes was actually out this game, right? He was out for with the flu, and so today they had Noah Gregor up on their line with them. And Noah Gregor, like he has a great shot. He's really good. I guess like offensive minded player, but he's not that playmaker. He doesn't necessarily fit as well, I would say, in that top line. But when you guys when you're like $10 million players, when you're the faces of the franchise, you gotta
You
make
make
do
it
with
work.
what you get, and you gotta make it like get something going, right? And that's exactly what they did here. Fantastic. What a
Yeah,
way
it
to
looks
end
like.
it
I mean,
too. But
I
they ended then that period 4-1, which is the nightmare of all Leafs players around the world.
like okay. So I left that intermission. I'm like, that was very impressive. I was like, wow, that was impressive. But anybody, every single person watching that, in the back of their cerebellum was like something there. It's not going to end it this way on this note. We just all know that. It's almost like to the script. And that's where we get to the second period. Now, second period starts off not too bad. I mean, the Rangers have some energy. Like they're starting to get, and you expect that.
Mhm.
Like the Rangers are a great team. There's always going to be score effects. The Rangers they're always going to make their next best shot. We started to see the cracks when there was a couple of really good slot chances in front of Martin Jones, and credit to Martin Jones, looking really good. I was gonna make a joke
Mhm.
being like, goalie controversy, is Martin Jones the starter? I'm not. That
No.
joke kind of like didn't land, but he looked really good on those saves. But then we get to the end of the period, and we saw Bobby McMahon, poor guy, it's still snake bitten, can't get his first goal. It ends up, being in a like we hit Blake Wheeler sniping at home like he's back in Winnipeg, and you could kind of feel it. Ooh, 4-2. Ooh, all right.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I think it was Zibanejad who got the first goal, and then afterwards it was, or
Yes,
the
yeah,
second goal, and then Blake Wheeler
fine.
had the third on that. But yeah, I mean the entire period though, leading up to that first goal where Zibanejad brings the Rangers back in the game. The Leafs were absolutely just relying on Martin Jones to bail them out. He made some fantastic saves,
Yeah,
and he was getting no help from the defense. He was getting no help from any of the players, honestly. And for a guy who is making league min, right? He's not supposed to be making, or you don't expect him to make all of these great saves. You're lucky that he did, because
yeah,
realistically, like, they could have had two or three more before the Zibanejad goal as well. Like, this could be a completely different game, right? So hats off to him. He came in and he absolutely shut down. He shut down the Rangers. He let in two goals: the Zibanejad one, the Blake Wheeler one. I don't really blame him on a lot of them. Like, for example, the first goal by Zibanejad, right? That was a power play goal for the Rangers. Now the
yeah,
Leafs, their PK unit was out way too long at that point, right? When you have when you have players playing on the PK and they've been out for a long time, they've had a long shift, they're gonna get sloppy. They're gonna make some desperate plays. You saw like Marner sliding across the ice. You saw some desperation plays, and that's when you know, listen, you're in trouble and something might break, right? Zibanejad breaks the gates, and they're right back in this, right? And even the Blake Wheeler goal, it was kind of funny because like the Leafs had like a 3-on-2 chance leading up to this, right? Um, they had a really good chance. I think it was Nylander
was it
and
McMahon?
I can't remember exactly who it was. I know Nylander was involved in that, like always. But they
Like
had a
always.
fantastic play. They had a fantastic chance. Goes the other way, and they the Leafs just weren't able to get back fast enough. It looked like they had lead strapped onto their ankles. It looked like they were a team playing on the second half of a back to back, right? Um, and Wheeler just throws like turns back the clock and goes bar down with a nasty snipe. That
That
was
was wicked. That
crazy
was
to
pretty
see,
wicked.
no?
I can't lie on that one. That was pretty wicked.
It was crazy. And
Okay.
that's where the dread starts, right? It's a 4-3 game. You go into the third, you're like, "Oh crap. How are they going to flub this now?"
Yeah,
Yeah, like
totally.
all you needed in that second period when you were up 4-1, like one more goal, just completely take
Park the
out the
bus.
steam, take out the hope from them, and they get two back. And you're like, it's
Yeah.
over.
Yeah, no,
It's
that's what I
over.
thought. And listen, that's what I thought. And I'm like, listen, you're an elite team when you go up 4-1. You going up 4-1 against the Rangers, you played to your elite level. That takes an elite team to do that. But to give up, to play that period they did, they played like a bad team. They didn't play to their mean. They
Hmm.
went from here up top to the bottom right there. And that's the thing. I'm going to pick some nits here because it was a great win, but this is the thing. We hold this team a pretty high standard, right?
Hmm.
You raise the liquor cabinet up because you're raising the bar. Shout out to Eminem on that one there. You, we expect something. We expect a Stanley Cup contender from this team. It's 7 years in. When you're giving up momentum like that, when you have those opportunities to kill and you just fall asleep,
Hmm.
that's just it's something we've seen too often for this team, and it's just a trend that just continues year after year. It through all seasons it stays that way, and credit to them because I thought this was gonna be like this was gonna be another overtime game. but I didn't like seeing that, and I'm still concerned about that despite the win.
Yeah, I remember after the second period, you messaged me and you were like full doomer. It was the game is
Oh,
over.
always.
It's just completely done. But yeah, I mean, listen, they were able to claw back in that third period. It must have been a goddamn crazy yelling that keep gave them like get your head out of your asses and start playing the game. Um, and thankfully they woke up in that third period. One thing I will say, I think the broadcast also mentioned this. The flu has been working its way around the locker room. Now that's not an excuse, right? But I'm just saying, like a lot of those players are probably sick, are feeling under the weather. It is their second half of the back to back, and on top of that, like they're playing essentially four defensemen that they normally would not play. Right? We've had so many injuries now. That's not an excuse. If they ended up losing this game, I will be fully clear, and I will be very adamant with this. If they lose this game, that is not an excuse, and it's a horrible way to lose. Like it's there's no justification for that. I don't care. Um, but
Totally.
they did not lose.
They did
They
not
came into
lose.
third period and they had a insanely competitive game and they absolutely won that period. They outchanced them. They got two more goals or two or three more goals, I think, with the empty net at the end.
David
Um,
Kampf, goal scorer.
yeah, and they and they wrapped the game away, got two wins or 2 points and a win in regulation, right?
A win in regulation. Hallelujah. Right? No, I mean, to be fair, like it was. You ever heard of that in work when they call it the compliment sandwich?
uh
Where it's like they had a really good first period, the really bad, but you finished it off, and there you go. You brought it back with another compliment just to keep them going. Yeah, I mean, they played well. I mean, Austin Matthews. Let's talk about Austin Matthews right now
mhm,
because there was a lot of hemming and hawing about Austin Matthews. I mean, we did that the last time probably we were on together. The last couple times, a couple weeks ago.
mhm.
I, despite all of that, the numbers don't lie. It's he's got 21 goals, the leader in goal scoring in the league, and
Yeah.
very loudly the leader. The Leafs are what 8-1-1. Like the numbers still don't lie, no matter what we see. So it's like I'm still confused with this team, but I'm also very impressed.
Yeah. Um it's it is interesting, right? Like they still are getting points. They still are a top team in this league, but it just feels weird because they haven't had as many, I guess, regulation wins, right? Now one thing that is like a positive is obviously when it goes to OT or it goes to the shootout or whatnot, they could lose it too. So it could be a lot worse. At least they are winning these games that do go to OT, right? That's a positive, right? Um on the Austin Matthews topic, oh my god, he is looking so good. He's looking so good. And the two goals tonight, taking the leader, the goal scoring leader, like you mentioned, um, fantastic to see. I'd love to see him going, and that's exactly what you need out of your top guys, right? Um, and again, today wasn't an easy night, right? People are sick. Like you're playing with a new linesman. You're playing with Connor Gregor in alongside you, right? You don't have your normal knives with you.
Conor McGregor? No,
Sorry,
McGregor. Sorry, I
Gregor.
had to.
Yeah, sorry, my bad.
Let me tell you something here. Now I'm just doing.
My UFC mind is getting to
I'll
me.
fight you.
No,
I can't.
you're
Bad
played
impression.
you're played with Gregor up beside you. Like it's a tough. It's not an easy game. And they showed up and showed out, right? Both Marner and Matthews. And you need to see them going. You need to see them playing their best hockey if we want to have a chance of making it to the playoffs and then going deep as well. So good stuff to see.
Making it to the playoffs is the operative word now because, and I tell you, I keep saying this. I'm like the fact that it's a really tough race, and I honestly hope it continues to be a tough race for the playoffs
Mm-hmm.
because I think it's so much better for them.
Yeah.
Like I hope, like quote me on this. I hope Florida keeps winning. I hope Tampa Bay keeps winning, gets their stuff together. I hope Detroit keeps winning. I want to see them battle to the end because that's the only way I think they might do it. Because they got, I mean, by January they're getting fat and happy, you know. So I want to see those teams like iron sharpen the iron. That's what I want to see. I don't want to see these guys get comfortable. And now on the Marner and Matthews thing, there was the thing on the TSN panel. Who do you want? Like, what line combination do you want to see in the playoffs? You want to see Marner and Matthews together? You want to see Nylander and Matthews together? Which one
Um,
would you prefer? Chat, let me know.
Yeah, let us know, chat. But what I would want to see is Marner on that top line with Matthews. Like they've had the most amount of time together. They look really amazing together. They're good friends, obviously. They love playing with each other. Now the benefit is we know that Matthews works with Marner. He also works with Nylander. So there is no wrong answer, which is absolutely what you want, right? Because the whole reason why Marner is on that top line right now is because he couldn't get something going in that second line, right?
Yeah.
And now that second line is working really really well. Or sorry, the reason why Marner is on that second line is because he couldn't get that top line working. Sorry, I got it mixed up in my head, right?
Yeah, no, I got it.
So and with Nylander slotted in for Marner and that top line has looked fantastic, right? That second line was also looking really great with Nylander on it. But what I'm trying to get at it here is that you have so many options, and with those options, like it opens up a lot of line mashing and a lot of finagling that Keith can do if players are not working or if lines are not gelling. I think that's the biggest thing. But ideally, in my ideal situation, I would want to see Marner and Matthews working together on the top line. I think that looks really good.
To be fair, like this question is, do I want to drive the Beamer, the Benz, or the Bentley tomorrow?
Exactly.
That's kind of what we're talking about here.
We're
Like,
spoiled
imagine
by talent, eh?
8 years ago, it's like, hey, how do you think PA Parento works with Connor Greening or Colin Greening? You know, like that's what we were working with like 8 years ago, right? So, and just want to shout out the chat. Thanks you guys for checking us out. Drop your questions, drop some hot takes, whatever you want. Let me know. Like I'll tell it. Like you think we should trade Matthews? Tell me, and we'll hash it out because
No, I don't want to hear
that's what we
that.
do here.
If
Don't
you
say
say
that.
that, get off the bandwagon. You're not.
Harnish
No, I will not entertain that.
Yeah. So one more thing, another thing here. Did you see that? Before I'd be remiss to not talk about that. Jake McCabe absolute steamroll on Charlie Lindgren
Mm-hmm.
there sent Charlie Lindgren into another cosmic plane, but kept it clean. Did not hit him in the head. That was some skillful hitting right there. It looked like Scott Stevens back in the day, though.
Oh, dude, it was such a beauty. Isn't this so cool? Or like so much fun to see McCabe out there. Like McCabe, I feel like he just always has these big hits. Him and then Lagston also has some really good ones too. But my God, that hit was disgusting. And yeah, completely clean. Completely clean. And on top of that, the best part about that was Zibanejad goes after him and he draws a penalty off of that as well. He lays a massive hit and then gets a penalty for the team.
Oh yeah, that's
Isn't that crazy?
That's a full house in poker right there. You won that whole situation right there. Not sure what Zibanejad. I guess Zibanejad thought it was dirty. I think his first.
I mean, when you see your boy get laid out like that, you gotta defend him. You gotta step up and be like
that.
Yeah, that's not happening. But yeah, I mean, you look back at that, and even Zibanejad, like he can look back, Lindgren can look back and just be like, God damn, that hit was a thing of beauty. Full respect.
Zibanejad, I always forget that he's like, it's so the most interesting thing is that he's a DJ and that he played Lollapalooza, like the same show as like Travis Scott.
Is he actually a DJ?
Did you not know that?
I didn't know that. But he looks like a DJ. His hair is fantastic. He looks like a Steve Aoki kind of guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he's a Swedish DJ. He continues the Swedish DJ tradition. He was on Lollapalooza in Sweden. Like Travis Scott was on the same show. The NHL should promote the hell out of that.
That's crazy.
But I digress.
Did you see that one like Rangers fan that had his Zibanejad like Sweden jersey?
No.
It was so cool. He just was out there with like a full yellow, the Sweden jersey. It's a fantastic jersey, by the way. And he had this Zibanejad jersey, and the whole the broadcast panned to him, and then like I think it was like 5 minutes later or like 3 minutes later, Zibanejad ends up getting that goal, and then they pan it back to him, and all the Rangers fans are like hyping him up and stuff. It was just really cool to see.
Yeah, totally. So what do you think? So anything else here, Harnish, that we have not covered?
Yes.
Any little nuggets you got for me here
Yes.
before we get to the presser?
I got one.
Hit me.
How bad does it feel to be Ryan Reeves? Like this guy, it let me break it down because this is kind of crazy.
Oh, I don't know.
You're on the second half of a I don't want to see him in the lineup. Let me get that clear. I don't want to see him in the lineup. But I'm just saying from his perspective, oh my god, must this be absolutely demoralizing. You're on the second half of a back-to-back. Nyes is sick, so he can't play. He's been scratched. Um and your coach Keith says, "Yeah, I don't trust you at all, so I would rather go for 11-7, 11 forwards, 7 defensemen, and although we already like are a team that relies on our top guys the most in the league, like you see Matthews, he gets like a I think he like leads the league in terms of amount of time on ice percentage or whatnot. It's like crazy how much time these guys get. He's like, I would rather give our top guys like X amount more time and also like while they're tired on the second half of back to back, then play you because you are that much of a detriment to this team. I completely agree with Keith. Do not bring him back in the lineup, but oh my god, that
That's
would be so demoralizing for him, right?
I don't not necessarily. I mean, he's still getting paid 1.5 something
Oh,
million
for what?
dollars
To
for
ride
the
the
next
bench? To basically hype up
years
the boys in the locker room.
until
That's
he's
it. You're a
until he's
cheerleader, a
40.
$1.5 million cheerleader.
I, I, I would do that. Would you not?
True, true,
Give me
fair,
that job.
fair.
I'd be a great cheerleader. No, I mean, yeah, the Ryan Reeves thing. That's like, and like I said, he's one of my favorite personalities in the game.
Uh-huh.
But that's where it kind of stops. Like as a person, I like the guy. I think he's real
I
cool.
agree. Yeah,
But man, like every time I see him on the ice and see the minuses, and I'm like, Brad, what in God's name were you thinking on
3
not even
years of
July
this.
1st? You
Yeah,
couldn't wait till July 1st. Like that is an impulse buy that you didn't have the money for.
yeah. 3 years of this guy is gonna be real fun. Um, yeah, it's just I just don't understand Ryan Reeves right now. Like if Keefe isn't gonna play him here, you know he's not gonna trust him later on as well.
No.
And why would he, right? I mean, this is the same thing. This is the gripe that I have with that like mentality of like, oh, we need one like really snotty, like aggressive guy for the playoffs. Like, no, you don't. You know
No.
what you need? You need to change the mentality for all of the players on the team. One
Yes.
person cannot make a difference. You saw last year, like where Nyes got absolutely like RKO'd by who was it Bennett, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Matthew
Bennett,
Knight.
he got RKO'd by Bennett. Nobody stood up for him. What are you gonna wait? Like you're gonna wait till like Ryan Reeves is out on the next line or like 5 minutes late or
Yeah.
another line matchup. You're gonna put him out there just for him to take a penalty and then put us down even more. Like no, this is if you want snot, if you want aggressive, if you want to get like a mentality shift, it has to be through the whole team and not one player alone. So having a guy out there that clearly cannot skate, cannot contribute offensively, cannot do anything on this team, why the hell is he there? He's purely a cheerleader, nothing else. It makes me so mad.
If I recall correctly, the 2011 and 2012 Leafs did absolutely fantastic. They had Fraser McLaren and Colton Orr, and they were an unbelievably good team. No, you're right. There's a reason why the Bruins are so good all the time. It's because their guys they
Every
take
single one
the
of them.
Ryan Reeves, and they're also amazing players. They have the Ryan Reeves in their soul, absolutely making your life a living hell, but also can stay on the ice, right? I
Yeah.
don't know. That's another topic. They'll probably find a way to buy him out or trade him, some kind of shenanigans
Yeah.
there. But I'm glad that you got that off your chest.
Yeah, it just doesn't make sense. Like we have one guy, Luke in the chat. Like I understand your what you're saying. Like a lot of Leaf fans also say the same thing. They say,
Yeah.
I think he's just there essentially for the other team to think twice before laying a big hit on him or a big hit on a player. The thing is, if this guy is that much of a detriment to the team, like he's gonna give up more, I guess like more goals or whatnot. He's gonna be more of a detriment on the team than it's gonna be worth, right?
Yeah.
Like you gotta understand, the game is still won off of amount of goals you get, and this guy clearly is completely useless for everything. right? Like
Yeah.
he contributes nothing. It's essentially just he's essentially just like a cheerleader for the team, just to get the morale up, just to get the guys going, get a good connection in the locker room. That's basically it.
Yeah, and let's not forget, Luke. Thank you, Luke. I appreciate the point, but at the same time, I think they might even be like, "Hey, let's lay somebody out because he'll play, and then we could score." You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like a bait and switch. But
Yeah,
and somebody else made another point. He's had 2 fights this year,
exactly.
so
He
the
hasn't
thing you
even
brought him
fought.
in to
And that
do,
first fight, I think that one of that fights was like what, the first game of the
yeah,
season,
two
right?
games, the first 2 games, back to back.
Anyways, I digress. This is just a
Bro, Roman Reigns
little.
is a WWE wrestler. It's not real, and he fought more than him. So I don't know. That's what I'm saying about Ryan Reeves. Anyway, so let's get to our little presser over here. So I had James Scaresbrook here. Thank you for joining us. New name in the chat. We'd love to see it.
Mhm.
Brought up a good point, not a question, but a good point that the Leafs have. I think they are sixth or seventh in points percentage,
Okay.
0.1 point, like almost on par with the new darlings of Canada, the Vancouver Canucks.
Mhm.
So, like I said, all the hemming and hawing, it's like, the way they win, and I'm concerned about the way they win, right? I'm on that concerned level,
Yeah.
but the numbers don't lie. So it's still kind of like I have to check my glasses here if they're still working.
It's interesting because like yeah, it is true, like the amount of regulation wins is low for this team, right? They've won a lot of these games in OT or whatnot, right? But they are converting, right? Like if you look at another category, look at their losses. They're I think they are the fourth best team, I guess, in terms of losses. They've only lost only the Kings or the Bruins and the Knights have lost less than the Leafs. They've only lost 6 games as well. That's another stat that is important that we can look at. Maybe that paints a different story where if you have a different perspective, you can say, hey, at least when they are down or when they are in a tough situation, they pull their boots up and they get something going and they are able to clutch it out and win, right? I
They
guess
learn
it's
how to
different
win.
perspectives and like time will tell, right? Right now we kind of are looking at the team and we're kind of confused about what exactly they are. We'll get a better picture of that a little bit later on, and I think that is probably what Brad Treliving is doing too. He's probably waiting to see exactly what this team kind of shapes out to be, especially with like the defensive woes or like the injuries that we've had, and then he'll look to bolster the roster, right? He's not making those rush or those frantic decisions to get some pickups when there might be other areas that we need later on, right?
Yeah, the team is not a finished product. Like we got a question yesterday. It's like who comes out of the lineup like when Timothy Liljegren comes in, which defenseman? And I'm like, I don't know. Like I said, I'm like, I don't know if it matters because about probably 4 of the defensemen are not going to be on the same line. It's going to look completely different
Mm,
at some point. You'd think. What that looks like and if it's a better version of now
mm.
remains to be seen. I'm still a little bit skeptical of Mr. Brad Treliving. He's had some good ones. Tyler Bertuzzi looks fantastic. Max Domi's been really good. A lot of very questionable ones. So he's a mixed bag right now.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see what he does. But I am not count me distrustful as a Toronto sports fan,
I think
considering
you
the
should
past
be.
weekend.
I think you should be, and it's justified, right? He's been very hit or miss. This next move, which I mean, it's inevitable. We are gonna see some kind of move being done before the playoffs. That's gonna be very telling of I guess like is this season or his first try at the can or try at the can of like getting something going with this team, is it going to be deemed a success or not? Because right now it's up for debate. We don't really know.
Yeah. Okay. So another one here by Luke, good friend of Luke, is that what would you say is the Leafs' kryptonite this year? Skilled teams, heavy teams, low ranked teams? I guess it just depends on which night, right? It's just like I think it's just a randomizer at this point. I think they're picking out of the hat who is our kryptonite at this point.
And you know
I
what?
think it's always the heavy teams, man. It's really hard.
Mhm.
I mean, they did win against the Panthers. I mean, they did outgrind the Panthers a couple weeks ago, but they still lost to the Bruins and it didn't look that great. So I think it's always going to be those heavy grinded out teams because if you take away that explosive offense that you just saw put up 7 goals, the Leafs don't know how, it's very hard for them to do really much of anything. What do you think?
Hmm. Um, yeah, when you said that it's a mixed bag and you don't really know, it could be game by game. You know what that sounds like? That sounds like the biggest weakness for the team is themselves, or the biggest kryptonite is themselves. They, it really
Ah,
seems like when they're playing, or the games that they lose or the games they let slip out, are because they kind of step off the pedal, and they let the other team get back in it. Right? It
hmm,
really doesn't seem like a lot of these teams are just more skillful, uh or just a better overall team. I feel like this team is really really good and one of the best teams in the league, and they definitely have the talent and the skill to compete against every
yeah,
single one of them day in and day out, right? It just depends on the effort that they put out there, right? Like look at this game. Uh Period 1, period 3, great effort. Period 2, horrible effort. Now if they had
mhm,
the same effort throughout all three periods, oh my god. Like insanity, right? And this is again, we're missing a bunch of our defense. We're missing Nyes. We're missing our starting goaltender. We're playing our third stringer, and we know that a lot of the room is sick or whatnot, right? Um, and we're playing against a Rangers team that is one of the best teams in the league, like
yeah,
just straight up, right? So we have the potential to win against all these teams. I think what was it? Even against the Bruins, we lost by one, or it was like an OT loss or something like that,
Brad
right?
Marchand OT goal, but
Yeah,
yeah, they got a
exactly.
tying goal in the end,
We're
but
playing well against good teams. It just depends on the effort of the that realistically, yeah, just the effort that they're willing to show day in and day out.
yeah, yeah, I mean, yeah, like you said, not you can say you nailed it really because like there's very few teams more talented than the Leafs just
Exactly.
in aggregate. Like there's just they have absolute superstars, and when they're on, it looks like it's magic.
Yeah.
But they're playing against themselves because in hockey it is like more than any other sport a game of who makes less mistakes than the other team or
Hmm.
who like it's a mental chess game of who does not blink. It's a staring contest. There's a staring contest. There's the analogy.
Hmm.
Like who's gonna blink first, and once you blink, back of the net. So remains to be seen. I like the character they're showing now.
Yeah.
If they're showing some character, they showed a lot of character this game with their backs against the wall, and that's why I said I like to see the other teams be really good as well, and I want to see them fight for the playoffs up until the end of March.
Yeah. Yeah.
Honestly, I
Uh-huh.
honestly do
I
because I think
that's Yeah,
am
go
I a
ahead.
masochist? Is it or is
No, no, I think you're completely right. When you brought this up the first time, I think it was on one of our previous streams as well. I completely agree with you. Like you want to get that that drive and that hunger out of them like through the regular season. You don't want them to coast and then have to find it in the playoffs, right? And one thing that Matthew said in the chat, he said the Leafs can beat good teams like the Rangers, but lose to Chicago and Montreal. I was just about to bring that up. It looks like the Blackhawks are the biggest kryptonite of the Leafs. They lost 2 games against them, and honestly, probably the worst losses too. It was like a 4-1 loss in the first game, and then a 4-3 loss the second game, with a bunch of Blackhawks players missing. Yeah, that's something funny.
yeah. All right. Well, I think I think that will do it. No, I think that will does it. But I will say there was a really funny comment in chat
Uh huh.
that pointed out that we are, if you watch the video, we are in absolute perfect contrast here. You are in a dark room and you have hair. I'm in a light room and I'm bald. So it's like we are the yin and yang here of podcasting. I shout out to that comment there. I can't find it. I got to scroll back down, but that really gave me a little chuckle. We planned that out totally because yeah, we planned it all out.
Exactly.
But yeah, I think that well does it. Thanks everybody for showing up. You know, people in here in the chat, watching on live on YouTube late at night. We appreciate you. Everybody else tuning in later, we appreciate you as well. Make sure you hit like, hit subscribe, share it, tell your friends, tell your enemies, tell everyone about Game Over Toronto on SDPN. Harnish, tell the people where they can find you, plug yourself,
Yeah,
and let's bring it on home.
As always, you can find me on Twitter at Harnish underscore Patel 98. And we'll be on in 2 days as well. I'll be on with Lauren for I think it's the Blue Jackets game as well on Thursday.
Yes, one of 3 Blue Jackets games in 3 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
So get ready for some fun, weird scheduling. My name is Fouad. You can find me at Fouad underscore sports. And yeah, you could have been anywhere else in the world, but you're here with us, and we appreciate that. Thank you very much for watching. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Game over!